Vidhammer Fantasy.
Welcome back to Vidhammer. I'm Spudlow, bringing you another painting video, this time for a Skaven Gutter Runner. I realize these are the older models, but I had a few of these things laying around. They had already been painted and then primed over the top of when I got a hold of them. And once I sat down, I didn't feel like getting back up again, so this is a sit and paint video. First thing I do is go over a couple of small mold lines, mainly around the hands and the sling, to get things a little bit more straightened out. Then I go for applying the base coat. I didn't want to do a black color for the Skaven. It's going to make them look just a little too dark, but I did want to give them that kind of sleeking, sneaking look to them, so I go ahead and do the base coat in gray, Eshin gray. Then I come back for this model and do the base coat of all of his fur areas with scorched brown. I do use a few other brown tones for some of my other gutter runners, mainly scrag brown and some Vestigore flesh for another lighter colored model. With the fur done, I go over the hands and feet with Valor Brown, because this is supposed to be the closest thing, the new closest thing to snakebite leather. And sorry, but it's not. It's just not as awesome. Snakebite leather was really cool. For the sling, I go ahead and mix some scrag brown in with that and make it a little bit of a darker color. I think it's a little bit closer to the old snakebite leather that I used to know and love so much, but still not quite. And that's full scrag brown on his arm cuff there. Try to give his details, make them look a little bit different on each model, so they kind of have their own individuality. We come back with Talon Flesh for the tail, hands, and face. This is all base coat, so I'm just trying to make sure I get paint on all the areas. Go over his nose and put his little eye in, his teeth and stuff for some details. Then I come back and start the washing. So I'm not going to slather this on. I could just come by with a very thick brush and do one coat and just really splash the stuff on. But I want to do a little better job, so I take a finer point brush and just add the wash to the areas that I want it, rather than dragging it over the entire model. So it's just like painting with your brush, but you're painting the wash into the creases. You do want to drag over gaps, but it helps to run along them as well in some cases if it's a long line. I wash most of the model, that's the darker parts of the fur and all the leather, with Agrax Earthshade. And I come back with Rakeland Flesh Wash to do all of the face, basically the face, the hands, and the tail, all the parts that have the lighter colored fleshy parts. This is me going back with Agrax Earthshade afterwards and doing just the little bandages he has on his face there, the little snout wraps or whatever you want to call them. Then it's on to highlighting. I come back with the original gray, Eshin gray, to do the first highlight, which really just brings the main tone of the paint back to normal, since a lot of wash gets on the areas that have been painted and darkens it up considerably. So I come back with the original base color just to bring the original paint color back. And you'll see me come by later with a lightened version of the same paint. Basically just mix a little bit of white in with it to make it a little bit lighter. And then when you do the highlight sections, you're just going for the upper sides of things to give the character a little bit more 3D depth, to where you don't have to rely on the natural lighting in the room. You can make it look like a well-illuminated model no matter where it sits, in theory. Just take a little bit of scorched brown. I put a little bit of white in with it. Scorched brown can be tough because when you lighten it up, it doesn't retain a whole lot of its brown color. It starts to go more towards a purple, so be really careful when you do that. Now the Valor brown, I don't actually mix white in with it. I just come back with the original color, and it pops against the Agrax Earthshade so much that I don't really worry about doing a lightened coat. This is going over the lightened coat with the Eshin Gray. This is Eshin Gray with just a little bit of white in with it, just dragging over the edges of things to make it stand out a little bit more. For the tail, since it has all these ridges on the thing, if you want to do it right, you really have to come through and paint each individual ring of his tail with the Talon flesh. But it has a very good effect afterward. Same thing with the fingers. You have to get every individual finger, but it really makes it stand out well, that flesh color. So it's definitely worth the extra effort. I'll do the same thing. It's not actually caught on camera, but I'll drag that same Talon flesh for the highlight over his ears and like the top of his eyebrow to bring those areas out. And since his face got washed pretty well, I'm going to come back and highlight his teeth. Makes that pop a little bit. Then I get some mithril and come across just the edge and the edge lines of his dagger here to bring out a little shine in his dagger, and there you go. That is a finished Gutter Runner. Hope you like it. Check back for more, and as always, keep painting.